white bigot lay dying. A black soul brother needed time to prove his innocence.
More power to you, brother.
I want to transplant my head on a healthy body.
I think I like to donate my body to science after all.
So they transplanted the white head onto the black body. Who would have thought that neither would have cared for the idea too much?
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hello, people.
This week, we'll be discussing the science fiction, horror, comedy, blaxploitation film, The Thing with Two Heads, starring Ray Milland and Rosie Greer. So good times. Each week on the podcast that wouldn't die, we discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the horror and sci-fi genre with a comedic twist. Aaron, what are you up to? How's it going?
Dude, I just got back from San Francisco. San Francisco is the best town. Polaroid Convention, Instant Film Society. I had someone take an 8x10 Polaroid of me. I had someone do a tintype of me. I had dim sum. I walked to Fisherman's Wharf. I did a harbor cruise. It was rock and roll.
This is just what you do. You're out living your life, cruising the world.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a member of the Instamatic Film Society or whatever it is?
First of all, an Instamatic is a different camera than an instant.
Okay,
camera.
So you say potato.
Instamatic is back in the day before when you were just like a whisper, where you put a cartridge in the back.
I remember.
This is a Polaroid. We're dealing with Polaroids.
What's the difference?
Instax.
Isn't that also like a cartridge?
No. One's 35 millimeter, and the other kind is the kind that develops in front of you.
Yes.
Oh, Jesus Christ. A 35 millimeter camera is like the little rolls, right?
Yes. But how's that instant?
It's not. You were calling it an Instamatic. I don't know why it was called the Instamatic.
Well, no, but you said it was instant. Is different.
An instant film is like a Polaroid or an Instax where it spits it out and it develops. An Instamatic, I think, implies the fact that you don't have to, when you load a 35 millimeter, you don't have to pull it plug it in.
Okay. Gotcha,
just a cartridge you just slam into the camera and close it. I guess that was as Instamatic as that was. But, I'm going to go dive deep. There was like our grandparents used to have a Polaroid land camera, the kind you would take the picture and you had to wait for a minute and then you peel it open and you instantly, 1 minute, 5 minutes, have a perfectly developed, beautiful picture.
This is so interesting. I had no.
Fascinating.
Okay, as a child, I went on school field trips with the Polaroid, where it spits out the thing, and I was like, so now I have to have like a little bag where I'm shoving all these crazy little pictures. What the hell? How do you do it as an expert of Polaroid?
Okay, I saved the pack, the box, and I just put that in my pocket, and I just drop them in my pocket as I go.
Interesting.
Because you still have to shield them from the sun.
Okay. You can't put them in like a sandwich bag and wave them around.
I'm like, you're the only person who says it's so annoying that I get to see my pictures right away. I would rather shoot film and then and never develop it. Just throw it like that Vivian Maier character where they just, after she died, they found steamer trunks full of undeveloped film. She just shot and never developed anything.
Well, then it's a big surprise 50 years later. Like, woo, look at this.
It's a big surprise after you're dead. You have no idea. But the fun thing about her is she was Phil Donahue's nanny.
I don't even know who this woman is that you're referring to, by the way. So that's good to know.
There was a documentary called Finding Vivian Maier. This guy won an auction at one of those warehouses. And what was it? He saw camera equipment. It was just literally steamer trunks full of undeveloped film. So he went and developed it, and it was gorgeous. Beautiful pictures.
Okay.
And then it was a mystery. Who was this person? Where did she come from? And so it was very interesting. So it's all welcome to the film podcast. I'm your host, Aaron, and here's Kevin, who knows nothing about film. So he's just going to ask me questions about Instamatics and
That's right. And frankly,
nonsense.
I'd be defied if most of our listeners know who Phil Donahue is, by the way. That's a deep cut.
There needs to be a certain generation for sure.
You're telling me. Aaron, give us your 30-second synopsis of The Thing with Two Heads.
Well, first of all, saying The Thing seems really kind of racist.
It is a little bit, isn't it? What the heck?
It sounds a little bit racist because
the man with two heads.
The man with two heads. Well, yes. There's the man with two brains, but that's different.
That is different.
So this is the man with two heads. Arguably, Ray Milland's finest bit of acting. Right up there with X, the man with the X-ray eyes.
That's what they say, Frogs.
Superior to Frogs. He was leading hard into it. So you have this crazy racist doctor who's dying because God has smited him because he's such an evil little bastard.
Yep.
And he's transplanting. He transplanted a second head onto a gorilla. And what the idea was that eventually they take off the main head and it would all work and it's all good because that's just how simple it is. So unfortunately, he was close to death and the only person available was Rosie Greer, in case you don't know, is African American. So he wakes up and he's looking over and there's Rosie Greer. They have to apologize because it was an emergency. Sorry, you're now basically black. It's like Black Like Me, except the head is still actually attached to. I wanted to see Rosie Greer do some Three Stooges eye gouges, but then I don't know if he would feel that now too. So at one point, Ray Milland manages to take control of the body of Rosie, which makes no damn sense whatsoever. I don't know. Basically, each of them wants to knock the other's block off. And in the end, Rosie wins, leaving us with one of the best scenes of all Hollywood.
of all Hollywood.
Grander and more sweeping than Gone with the Wind.
Oh, easily. Good grief. Had you ever heard of this movie or seen it before?
I've heard about it from you. Have I seen it before? No. I've never even cracked open the case you got me. Kevin sent it to me on Blu-ray. It's just now being displayed as an objet d'art.
As it should be, frankly.
As it should be. It needs to be framed. Oh my God. It's a classicon.
I recall being vaguely aware of this in my youth. I don't know if it was on Elvira or like Channel 5 on a Saturday afternoon. I was vaguely aware of it.
First of all, how come they've never brought back Elvira? She's still kicking.
They did briefly. They did I think it was on Amazon Prime a couple times where it's kind of limited series. She comes in and talks about, going back even further, they did one on regular TV. I want to say like 10 or 15 years ago, one season, and it wasn't brought back. Then they did one on Amazon Prime, and I think if you search Amazon Prime, it's still there. And I think they did one on Shudder, like a really short one of like 4 episodes.
She was hysterical. I mean, I like Joe Bob, but I don't like the weird porno chick and all of that. I just want to hear Joe Bob.
Go ahead.
I mean, she was just so sarcastic. They, clearly they were finding the cheapest movies. This is on old Channel 9 out of Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And she would just interrupt the movie with some snarky comment, and they just pop right back into it. It was delightful.
Well, here's the thing, and I think this is true for Joe Bob to a lesser extent. The movies that she was picking were these kind of not public access, but like public domain movies. And oftentimes they're just boring. It's all get out. They're like some weird sci-fi thing from 1958. And you're just kind of sitting
Mystery Science Theater 3000. That's why you need to be jumping in there and snapping it up.
But she doesn't she'll jump in occasionally.
Right.
But whereas Mystery Science Theater, they're in there constantly jabbering away, pulling focus. She'll pop in occasionally, and the rest of the time you're just watching this boring movie. And that's kind of the gooch. You know what I mean? So
if she's on something like an Amazon Prime, They have money. It's like once you move over to HBO and Amazon Prime, they have money. So she could be ripping through modern films.
Absolutely.
No problem.
No question. No. When she's done it on those other showcases, those are much more entertaining. But it's like even Joe Bob, he did a Valentine's Day thing. And one of the movies, I was just like, I'm not watching this. I watched 20 minutes of it, and I'm not, without naming them. Actually, I will name them. It was called Necromantic, which some people love. It's a German film with subtitles, which I don't have an issue with subtitles. But it's about this weird necrophiliac couple that bring a body in and put it into bed with them, and I'm just like, okay, moving on.
Have you seen it before? Is that why you object? Or are you like the people opposing Salman Rushdie Satanic Verses?
Yeah,
and Harry Potter.
No. Well, maybe. Who's to say? Depending on what we're talking about. No, it was just kind of gross. But he's done that before, where they'll pick movies that are just boring. He did this movie from Canada called Things, where it was literally like filmed on video and with no discernible plot and just kind of boring. And
what's the point of that?
Some people love it. Some people find it so absurd that it's funny to them, and I just find it boring.
It's The Room, but a horror movie.
The Room is like Lawrence of Arabia compared to these damn movies.
Oh my god!
But anyway,
the problem is most of the time I just fast forward the movie to just listen to Joe Bob.
I don't usually do that. I've probably done it maybe 3 times total. There was one movie, a Japanese film by the same guy who did Audition, which just was a cringy kind of movie where it's like there's a lot of like, here's a bowl of vomit, or this guy's getting his limbs hacked off with piano wire, and I'm just like, I'm out. I'm not sticking around and watching that. Not feeling it. I had a long discussion about horror with somebody recently, and I just said, to me, it needs to be fun. Horror for me should be fun. If it makes me, if it's too cringy, I'm out. It ceases to be fun for me. That's my opinion.
I don't mind being scared. I want it to be like a roller coaster where it's like,
it doesn't have to
be funny. It doesn't have to be campy.
No.
It needs to tell a good story, but I'm not there just for the gross outs. Like, I like to listen to crime podcasts, but some of these are very specific and go into really disgusting detail. I don't need any of that.
No.
My imagination's working just fine. I don't need you to put any new things floating around in there.
Don't give me nightmares about real things that went down.
Exactly.
Anyway, that's not the thing with 2 heads, by the way.
No, it will not traumatize you. And if it does, perhaps you have other things going on in your life.
That is absolutely true. So why don't we jump right in to the thing with no head? Now it's the thing with no heads, as far as I'm concerned.
It's just that big purple monster with that's just shoulders from the old Bugs Bunny cartoons.
Yes. We had like Converse All Stars, but it's a big like purpley thing. Yes, I remember. Give me. Well, you go first, Aaron. What's your highlights? What you got?
My favorite thing is, quite frankly, the end. But maybe I should hold off on that. But I mean, in the end, there's sycophants, but nobody really believes in Ray Milland.
Right.
I don't think, and he's the crazy racist, but he's like a genius.
Brilliant surgeon.
A transplant surgeon.
Yes.
So there's all these sycophants. I'm like, where else are you going to go? Where else are you going to go to learn this stuff? If I don't sign up at the University of Hitler, then I'm not going to be part of cutting edge medicine. So they're like, they're a little too sycophantic because they're like, maybe we should just let this boy go. Like when he goes under, I'd be like, aye, Captain.
Peace. Well, okay. So you talked about he's suffering from some kind of disease. Do we know what the story is? If it's Lou Gehrig's?
It wasn't COPD. He had cancer, I think.
I don't know if they ever said it, but it was basically his body is shutting down over the course. He can't even. He's sitting there in his wheelchair, like observing transplants going on because his hands are too Katharine Hepburn, he'd actually get involved. Is that what we're supposed to think?
Janky. I think the medical term is janky.
If you look at a medical book, that's exactly what it says.
That's right.
And we don't know he's a racist until they talk about, we hired Dr. So-and-so from Minneapolis. He's like the top blah, blah, blah. And Dr. whatever walks in, and he's African-American man. And immediately they cut to Ray Milland, who's just like growling and snarling and and he's shaking hands with everybody. Go ahead.
First of all, I think it's interesting that it was a surprise that you've hired someone, spent all this money to relocate him, and have zero idea of what he looks like.
Right. Year contract, signed everything.
Is that what we did in the old days? I just send my resume, and they're like, yes, you allow us to send you some money.
That's basically what they said. They're like, he was so esteemed that we offered him the position sight unseen. So 30 seconds of him walking in the door, Ray Milland's like, we no longer have an opening for you anymore. And the guy's like, what the hell? I just gave up my position. Like,
listen, MF, I got a 6-month contract. Yes. So you either keeping me or you're writing me a fat check. And I appreciated that.
Absolutely.
There's no yelling and screaming. I'm just going to sue your mother effing ass.
And he was quite good in this movie, that actor.
I mean, he was like a real actor. This is not like, hey, I got a buddy who wants to break into Hollywood. No, this was like an actor.
You're right, which is not easy to do when you've got over the hill Ray Milland on one side. Because we've talked about like how many movies he's like, just put me in a wheelchair. Just put me in a wheelchair. And Frogs is in a wheelchair.
Honestly, I thought he was pretty solid in this. You can feel his racist anger the whole time.
The whole time. And also acting opposite Rosie Greer, defensive tackle of the LA Rams, who I imagine did not go to Juilliard. I mean, let's be honest.
Juilliard, but he is such a likable guy.
Really is.
It just comes through, so you don't really care. I mean, he's not like breaking character or rolling his. I mean, he just is. He just is. And I looked at, he's still hopping around here. He ain't dead.
He's doing his thing.
He's doing it. He outlived all these motherfuckers.
Oh, no question. Well, and you have to remember, Rosie Greer blazed the trail for another LA Ram defensive tackle named Merlin Olsen. There you go. They said if Rosie can do it.
That's what everyone who played football back in the day looked like they were 45 years old.
Well, Merlin Olsen went on to what popular TV show?
Was that Benson?
Was it not Benson? What are you talking about? It was a Little House on the Prairie.
Yes. Oh, I'm getting all my football players that look like half cowboys who went on to TV shows. Who was the other guy who also went on to Goonies?
That was John Matuzak, who was a defensive lineman for the Raiders. He played Sloth.
And then there was the dude where he adopted a black
That's
kid.
Alex Karras, defensive tackle for the Detroit Lions, was on Webster. Yeah, there are a lot of.
Oh my God! All these people are the exact.
Emma Smith was in the Police Academy movies. Defensive tackle. All the defensive tackles had the chops. Evidently, Baltimore Colts. Yes,
apparently,
no question.
Especially if they're in the 70s, they're full.
Oh, no question. No question. Oh, sweet Lord. Anyway, we've got off the rails here.
You assume that I know who any of these people are besides their acting, like what teams, or they played, I don't know, soccer or football or were boxers. I don't know. It's a bunch of big white guys.
Oftentimes
is what you name.
There was obviously many African American gentlemen as well, but you're right. So they were doing their thing. I mean, they're all acting. Good for them. They got to pay their bills too. For goodness sake.
Right on. Without getting their blocks knocked
off. First scene when this movie starts, there's a scene where it's like the limo pulls up outside of Ray Milland's mansion. And I'm like, you're in a wheelchair, bro, and yet there's an extended scene of them like carrying you over the stairs, up the stairs, down the stairs. It's like, bro, if you know you're in a wheelchair, throw a couple lamps in there. Where did they find this place?
Oh my God. It's a classic on. Oh no. It's fantastic. Well, that's the joy of money. You can just hire former NFL players to hoist your furniture out.
100%. No question.
Nothing like four dudes in their 40s huffing and puffing to drag your wheelchair upstairs.
Well, and he is doing the experiments in his basement with the two-headed gorilla, with the help of his butler and his chauffeur, who I'm assuming did not go to medical school. So, because again, he can't do anything with his hands. So the butler's in there with the scalpel.
It couldn't be more Igor and Dr. Frankenstein. It couldn't be. Where's Marty Feldman? That would be the cherry on top of this crap pie. Would be Marty Feldman popping in, offering to assist.
That is correct. Absolutely. Marty Feldman. He needs a transplant too, if I'm not misremembering. There's the scene when the two-headed gorilla escapes from the mansion, because it's like the gorilla's on a gurney, and they lower a cage just resting on top of the gurney to hold the crazy gorilla. You could see that wasn't going to work.
That didn't seem like good engineering, Kevin. This is how Escape from the Planet of the Apes begins, right here.
Sweet Jesus. What else you got?
Oh my God. What else do I not have? I really wanted, once again, is a 2 monkey head to eat lips. So that again, I was robbed.
That's correct.
Damn it. I want you to be aware that this whole thing, at one point they announced that the governor is going to, let any murderer who volunteers for this procedure, you get like a bonus 30 days before California executes you. And who's the governor at this time?
Jerry Brown? Who is it?
Ronald Reagan.
You're absolutely right.
So what you can do is assume this is Reagan's fault. Among many other things, it all comes down to Reagan.
No, well, and that's the thing. Even in California, you're not allowed to perform bizarre experiments on the inmates. Typically.
Unless you have a Republican governor.
And then they're encouraged. Bizarre experiments.
We have to assume that he was in Ray Milan's pocket. There was blackmail. This was his last year in office because obviously there were some issues that, he had to go run from.
So there's a scene. You're absolutely right. There's a scene where it seems like they're doing like a telethon. All these people are calling, hey, do you have any patients that are brain dead? We need a brain dead patient. No? Nobody? Okay, moving on. Call the next. Well, they're just piles. I guess they're not piles of catatonic people just lying around.
Where did all these people come from? Now all of a sudden he's got a call center made up of just doctors and nurses.
It was a secret. Evidently not. Everybody's on board now.
If they don't have anyone brain dead, have they thought about their car warranty and an extended service?
Exactly. No question. Do you have time for a few questions? No, we do not. Well, I was waiting for them to say, do you have anybody who's catatonic? Now, what if you hit him with a rock? Well, then you have somebody who's catatonic. No, not so much. We meet Rosie Greer, who's literally on death row, about to be killed. But he's innocent. Innocent of all crimes. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was like he let his buddy stay at his house who was the guilty party. Is that what it was?
I think there was a gun involved that he once owned.
That's right. So yes, the gun he once owned, he let his buddy stay at his house. The buddy took the gun and proceeded to commit murder, if I'm remembering this correctly.
Some crackhead homie who's
dipped out and is more than a close pal who's willing to let Rosie take the hit for him. So a real chum.
As one does. And I didn't think when he showed up, when he finally makes his escape with Ray Milland, his girlfriend didn't seem that excited to see him. I thought perhaps she was in on it. Or do you think it was because he
had a will do it. And she said
with Milland is the cock blocker. Yes. This is where it really gets real spicy. Come on, baby, snuggle up with me. She's like,
There are two dynamite lines in that scene. When he walks in with a second head and she's like, baby, do you have two of anything else? No, she's just shaking. And then when he climbs into bed with her to get down to business, and the lady gives him the cold shoulder, he turns to Ray Milland and says, oh, now you got to go.
Oh my God. And while he's just shouting crazy racist shit, is this all you people think of? I was like,
I should have known your kind sticks together. There's a lot of that, yes. A lot of horrible racism from Ray Milland, no question.
Just envision that somehow they have just duct taped Ray Milland to the back of Rosie Greer.
This is not top drawer special effects. I mean, Ray Milland and Rosie Greer are literally cheek to cheek for an hour and a half of this movie. Because it is Ray Milland who's literally just hanging over. He's like resting his head on Rosie Greer's shoulder. Yes, it's top drawer all the way.
It's like I imagine him as kind of like a baby.
It was a Bjorn
snuggled up there. It was going to be a Bjorn. And then one of the better parts is whenever they're laying down, there's clearly a cardboard box where you can see the edge of on many shots. Nobody caught that. That was real Ed Wood Jr.
Well, there are multiple.
No one will. It's all about the big picture.
There are multiple scenes where it's clear they put Ray Milland down and then just had to let Rosie Greer just lay on top of him.
That's what I love. Like they don't have Ray Milland on top. It's clearly Rosie Greer just
crushing his enfeebled body underneath 300 pounds of Rosie Greer. So good times.
They said, Ray, either this will kill you or make you stronger.
You're already in the wheelchair, for goodness sake. So we're halfway there. Whenever they would pull back to reveal like Rosie running down the hall, there'd always be the fakest mannequin head glued to his cheek, basically. It was it was like I'm at Saks Fifth Avenue in the mannequin section. It's crazy town.
Oh, it's so ridiculous, and again, so racist. So when Rosie Greer tries to touch the other head, he's like, "Don't you touch me!"
No, I'll say this: this is 1972, but it's clearly written in such a way as the African Americans are clearly the good guys. And the white people are clearly, if not horribly racist, at least kind of permissible of racism around them.
They're like, oh, he's just old. That old thing. Oh, he was brought up at a different time. He's from a different part of the country. Whatever. He doesn't know what he's saying.
Did you notice? Did you see where the police were supposedly from? What city?
No, what city?
I was like hallucinating, and I had to stop it and zoom in. It was someplace called Acresfield, without the B. Yes.
No, well then they were racist light if it was Bakersfield back then.
Bakersfield now.
Bakersfield was one of those. Well, Mom always tells stories that Bakersfield was one of those, and Taft were like some of those sundowner towns,
absolutely.
Where, in case you don't know, that means black folks need to leave before the sun comes down. No, there wasn't enough violence for that to be Bakersfield police.
Well, there's a calling all cars that goes on.
Somebody would have been beaten to death, so that's not Bakersfield. It must be some other place.
That is correct. So,
check us out on Hulu, kids.
Hours of fun.
Killin County, yay!
So at one point, so they attach Ray Milland's head onto Rosie Greer's shoulder, so it's both heads. Because ostensibly, you have to let that new head kind of marinate for a week before you can lop off the old head. Essentially, they said something like that, or 30 days, whatever it was. That's why they said, hey, you'll get to live for 30 more days, but eventually you're going to bite the dust as well.
I think that's fascinating that I'm like, if you chop off your arm, you're home in like a couple of weeks.
And not to mention, your head will be off center, right? When they remove the other head, your other head is going to be like over here on your shoulder. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and you can't go to the chiropractor right away. Otherwise, they might just lift that thing right off. It
might just fall off. Like a goat's testes when you wrap them in a thing, basically.
So, I mean, I am not a Scientologist, as I have said, but why? I mean, both heads have to be working all the time. What is the 30 days? If your brain doesn't work for 30 days, it ain't coming back. So what exactly is it? I don't understand the second head thing.
I can't explain.
Why wouldn't you just pop? I mean, they got bypasses and everything going during the surgery. Why wouldn't you just pop on the one?
I don't know. I can't explain it. Who knows? It takes 30 days and really it doesn't. It takes 2 days before he's fully in command of the body. A day and a half where Rosey Grier's like, what the hell? What's happening? I can't control my arms anymore.
I mean, couldn't Rosey Grier just stood up and pulled that old damn head off?
It was hanging on by just some needle and thread.
It's just, exactly some black thread from the shoebox in the closet. That's it.
Well, and then they put like a big old crazy like neck brace over both the heads, which made them really cheek to cheek, kind of squishing against each other.
That's saved on special effects. Although I do believe Rick Baker was somehow involved.
I'm sure he probably was. Sweet Jesus. In my mind, kind of the low part of this movie is the extended car chase, motocross.
Oh my God.
Where it goes on and on.
People with one wobbly head, Yes.
Well, he's on. Okay, first he escapes with Ray Milland on them with the help of the African American doctor. He's kind of on the fence. He's like, "Look, you're a murderer. I'm not sure I should help you. Let's talk about it some more." While every cop in Bakersfield is chasing him down. It's like 30 cops. It's a lot of those scenes where it's unmotivated car crashes, where it's like, I'm a cop. I'm just driving off this cliff for no reason. Right? We're slamming into each other.
Just some good old boy, never mean no harm.
Let's go pick our plane.
Maybe it's Bakersfield. It is Bakersfield. Maybe you're right. Although it seemed awfully green.
Cletus and Enos going head-on collisions into each other for no reason. It's like you have a brake. You have a steering wheel. You don't have to slam into each other over and over again. I mean, people would have been dead.
Honestly, I wrote that down. I assumed you were going to tell me that was the best part. Because I know you love these goddamn movies with these extended car chases, like 30 minutes of car chase wrapped around 15 minutes of stories.
Well, it definitely seemed like, oh, damn, our movie's 55 minutes. We'd add at least 30 minutes of car chase into this one.
No, this isn't an after-school special. This is a proper production.
No question. Well, and it's that thing where it's like, where the hell is Rosey driving to? Because you see him zip one way across the field and then zip right back the other opposite direction. It's like, where are you trying to get to? It makes no sense. Like, and I swear to God, 20 police cars falling into ditches and flipping over and bursting into flames. It was just like, what is happening?
Oh, my God. Must have been anarchy in Bakersfield after that. With clearly there were all the entire law was dead now.
Dead. Okay, so they steal the car. But then I don't remember why they leave the car. They leave it at one point. The cops are chasing them with a helicopter. So they steal a motorbike. And the two-headed Rosey Grier and the African-American doctor hop on the back and zip around and proceed to go up and down the motocross track 8 or 9 times. It's like, you're not escaping this way, Rosey, no matter how much you want to.
It reminded me. Did you ever watch Roseanne?
Yes, of course.
So the best part of Roseanne was their Halloween special. So at one point, Dan was the Three Stooges, except it was one body with three heads. So the two heads were both flip-flopping around as he's gouging the eyes and ripping the hair out of them. That's what it reminded me of.
That's what it was. Somehow they elude all the cops in town and go right to Rosie's girlfriend, where the doctor's like, won't the cops look for you there? He's like, oh, they don't know the address. They don't? Really? Is it unlisted? No one knows your girlfriend? This is serious.
Mm-hmm. How do you know the address? Because they read all your mail in prison. So how do you know the address?
This is a good question. And there's another line that was dynamite. The girlfriend was so good in this, and they gave her all the funny lines. When he walks in with two heads, her response is, "You get into more shit."
They were not playing this straight. This is clearly a comedy. And it's awesome because, like I said, Ray Milland is playing it straight and hard. He's just the angry racist. No matter what's happening, he's the angry racist.
He thought he was in Birth of a Nation or something. I mean, he was really doing it. You're right. There was no like wink from Ray Milland. He was like method acting.
He just had a scalpel on his severed head the whole time.
Horrible racist things because he's basically the entire cast that he's surrounded by for the last 30 minutes are all African American. So just him giving people the side eye, making comments. Is that all you people think about?
Honestly, I don't even remember that. I don't even think they solved the murder case or cleared Rosie. They didn't even. But by the end, everyone's so disgusted by Ray Milland, they just go ahead and help Rosie Greer.
And that's what's so funny, because over the course of this last moment, finally the African-American doctor says, you know what? Okay, I will help. And again, there's Ray Milland right there listening on, what the hell? What are you... I don't know how you conspire when the other head is sitting right there, but yeah, he's like
just listening and control of the body. Right. So that's fascinating.
So you're gonna kill me then?
You think you would try to come to your own defense in some way? Now, like, hey, let's not make any hasty decisions. He'd be like, no. He's probably just screaming the N-word as they finally go in and remove his head.
So, okay, later in the movie, Ray Milland now has control of the body, which he didn't before. He beats up the doctor with one punch and then knocks out Rosie Greer's head. Punches it, knocks it unconscious. And proceeds to go to his mansion. And when they find him, he's like laying on the gurney with a scalpel in his hand. You going to do surgery on yourself? You're going to chop off the head on your own. This is your plan. Good work. Good work. Oh, Lord. And then...
the ending is the best, though. The ending... Oh, my God. The ending, they call the one doctor that's an associate and tell him to meet over at the mansion. They arrive... that doctor arrives to see only Ray Milland's head attached to hoses and wires. He's been detached, and he's still angry.
Yes.
Still
Get
yelling.
Get me another body. Hurry.
Hooray.
And then smash cut to the three African-American characters driving off, all happy, while it's like, oh, happy day. It's like a spiritual.
Oh, and where is this doctor now? Now that he's thrown his whole career away. What's the plan now? He's just going to live with Rosie Greer in some polyamorous situation.
Rosie Greer is still a convicted murderer, a fugitive from justice. They're talking like they're going to solve the mystery or capture the real murder like OJ. Instead, they're just, I guess, we're on the run now for the rest of our lives. Oh, happy day.
There we go. So
it was great. Then the credits roll. Love it.
So Kevin, is this a racist movie or is it a movie about racism?
I think it's a movie about racism, no question. Because like I said,
I think the answer is racists deserve to die. Is that what it is? I guess they didn't kill him.
Well, they didn't do him any favors either. He's just a head. Well, not a surgical tray.
That's what he gets. That's what he
Absolutely.
gets. They couldn't put him out with the trash.
No, well, and that's the thing. They could not do the transplant without the help of the African-American doctor. Like, he had skills that none of them possessed. Like, he was arguably one of the smarter guys there. So it was, go ahead.
What I was going to say is he'd come there to learn all about this stuff, but he never did. So how did he know how to do it?
He had some techniques he was bringing with him.
He can sew a finger back on. So you figure, well,
I think it was something like he had some techniques where it was like dealing with the body's natural desire to reject foreign organs or something. Like, he was bringing that to the table, but he wanted to study at the foot of, and I've got all the characters' names.
Well, he's really just removing the head that didn't belong there anyway. So you don't need to worry about rejection. You don't need to worry about anything. You're just removing a foreign body and stitching that up.
Easy peasy. And again, they cut to the car. They're riding away. Rosie's fine. He's had a head removed. Right? He's not in the backseat recuperating. Oh, don't hit those potholes. He's fine. He's singing along, smiling. He's doing great.
And he had no control of his body. So why all of a sudden now he knows how to walk and move and do stuff?
They didn't put him in a wheelchair, I'll tell you what. They just threw him in the cars. Let's do this. So Rosie, go ahead.
Let's think about this. This technique would have cured anyone who had broken a back or broken a neck and lost the ability to move. This magic cure would have taken care of that. If you could pop a head on and off and not lose anything and all those nerves and blood vessels, I don't know, in the marrow. Like I said, not a Scientologist, but if you can do that, you can do anything.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like today, 50 years later, we do not possess the ability to repair the spinal cord or the central nervous system. Not at all.
It's like pouring a Coke on your CPU. It ain't coming back.
As of this moment, it's not. But somehow, Dr. Kirshner had some skills, though he could do it like in his basement with the help of Igor the chauffeur, for all we know. There you go. There you go. Anything? What else you got? Anything else?
That's right. I got nothing else.
Let's go.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I just want to say I thoroughly enjoyed it because you can tell. Usually when I don't take that many notes, it's either because I'm bored, because I'm just into it.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like if they could have done something with the car chase scene, this movie would be unimpeachable. In my opinion, it's really the car chase scene which kind of bogs it down. Because I swear to God, it's 45 minutes of just chasing.
I think you're 100% right. Because I was reaching for the phone, seeing who texted me. I was like, when will this shit end? Why were they on dirt bikes?
Right. It's a thing. It's a thing. Let's go behind the scenes. There frankly isn't that much in terms of behind the scenes stuff.
Hang on. I just want to pop in here and say what they could have done to fill the time is Rosie Greer with racist Ray Milland hunting down the person that Rosie is accused of the real killer.
Absolutely. That could have been the movie.
Well, he's trying to convince him to turn himself in while Ray Milland continues his
slowly
racist
takes
rants.
Control over the body as well. Like he's got to handle this before Ray Milland takes over, right?
See, that could have taken up some of that dirt bike. Next thing you know, it would have been they're in those little Shriners cars cruising down the highway,
and then it could have been like, we're rewriting the script. Then it could have been something like his compatriots at the hospital, the other white doctors, are like, well, hang on. Now we know he's innocent. We can't go, can we go through with this surgery? We can't do that, Dr. Kirshner. I don't know. Who's to say?
Mm-hmm.
Good times. Okay, let's go behind the scenes. Not much, like I said. There's a couple things. It is It says Joan Prather's debut. I don't know who that is. I don't know what role she played or what she did, but it's her debut film.
Let me tell you, I know Rosie Greer, I know Ray Milland, and I know Rick Baker, the monkey
Rick Baker
man.
was the gorilla. That is correct. And that's all you need to know.
Oh my God. It was such trash. It was fabulous.
This was the winner of the Golden Turkey Award in the category Worst Two-Headed Transplant Movie.
Out of the series of two-headed transplant
Well, what's crazy
movies.
is there was another one that came out about the same time. And it was called, this is true, The Incredible Two-Headed Transplant. And it stars Bruce Dern and Pat Priest, who played Marilyn Munster, and Casey Kasem. Yes. The Incredible Two-Headed Transplant came out, I guess, a year before.
No Bert Convy, no Suzanne Pleshette.
Could be in her debut role. Who's to say? Oh my goodness! So that's it for behind the scenes. Shall we talk about the cast and crew? The director was Lee Frost. You know him from Chain Gang, Policewoman, The Pickup. You know all those movies, don't you? Good.
Policewoman, the series?
This was a movie starring Sandra Curry and Tony Young. You know him, don't you? A lady cop infiltrates an all-female criminal gang.
This sounds like caged women situations here. Big-breasted caged women and
and Chain Gang Women is the other movie. So yes, a murderer escapes from a gang, forces his co-inmate to go along and aggressively. Oh my goodness, this takes a dark turn. Moving on. So don't watch these movies. The cast. Oh, sweet Jesus. Ray Milland plays Maxwell Kirshner, the racist transplant surgeon.
Hey, let me ask you this bizarro question. Remember the movie with Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder where they like escaped criminals together? Stir Crazy. Do you think this is like inspired by this movie?
No. Well, they had like two heads or something, maybe. That would have been a good one. Those two.
It's just that, Ebony and Ivory sidekick situation.
Those dudes did like 5 movies together. It's so bizarre. Oh, by the way, this makes me think of this. I watched this movie, which it was called Silver Streak. I'm sure you're familiar with it. With Gene Wilder.
I saw it back in the day.
It's basically a kind of Cary Grant kind of murder like Alfred Hitchcock. That's what they're going for kind of thing. But it's Gene Wilder instead of Cary Grant. But they're having him do like the same beats where it's like he's hooking up with Jill Clayburgh in the room and they're making, and you're like, whoa, this is Willy Wonka. What are you doing, Willy? And
that was at his peak, man, because he didn't age well.
He still had the crazy Gene Wilder hair and all that stuff going on.
Like, it was untamable. I loved Willy Wonka. As it progressed, his hair just got more out of control until it was like practically a whole throw.
Was it a comb over? Is that what he was going for? Because it's like the parts on the side of his head, and it's kind of a weird.
It might have been a combination of two things. I think it was like they were straightening his super curly hair, and it was a funky comb over. And so as dried hair hit moisture, it just started all
over the place. And Richard Pryor is in that movie, but not for very long. They just have like a scene where they meet up, and in typical 70s fashion, they disguise Gene Wilder as if he's African American, and that's kind of played for laughs. And the big joke is Richard Pryor says, Gene Wilder's concerned. He's like, are we going to fool the cops who are chasing them? He's like, I'm not worried about the cops, but I hope we don't run into any Muslims. That was a joke.
There we go. Let's offend everyone. That was a joke.
Let's offend everyone. Okay.
Kids, it was just good, clean humor back in the day.
Good time. So, Ray Milland. We know him from The Lost Weekend, Dial M for Murder, Love Story, The Uninvited, and of course, X, the man with the X-ray eyes, and frogs, and good stuff.
Treat yourself to X, man. If thine eye offends thee, pluck it out.
Roosevelt Grier, known as Rosie in this film and in life, frankly. You know him from Half Nelson, The Thing with Two Heads. Evidently, he was in one episode of Quincy M.E. What's another dude where it's just like, yes, I'm a 65-year-old man, but you're going to see me hooking up with some random chick in every episode. Get ready.
It's the 70s.
No question. Don Marshall played Dr. Fred Williams. You know him from Terminal Island. You know him from Land of the Giants. There you go. Did you ever watch that show? Not a thing?
No.
He was in The Lieutenant, which was a series. He did a lot of TV, evidently.
No.
And he was in Star Trek, 1967.
Ooh.
Yeah. The original series. Good stuff. Anybody else you want to know about?
No.
That's it. Oh, let's.
What about, did you tell me the chick?
Chelsea Brown played Lila. You know her from The Thing with Two Heads. You know her from the Return of Captain Invincible. You know it, don't you?
Ooh. I didn't know
he was a ballet teacher in an episode of Mission Impossible. She was Mrs. McKay in Police Story, the TV series. A lot of TV. Good for her. And I think that's all we need to know. Good stuff.
All right.
Shall we talk about the rating?
Oh, indeed.
Buckle up. The Thing with Two Heads currently has a rating on Rotten Tomatoes of 0. 0!
What? No, that just means it hasn't been rated.
It's 8 reviews. 8 reviews, so not that many. But the audience was much more forgiving. You know what the audience gave it? 45%. Who's right?
Honestly, I think the extended chase scenes really bogged
no question. Down. No question. If I look at top critics, there's only one top critic. Do you know who the top critic is? Roger Ebert. In 2004. All
right. Roger. Oh my God. Roger clearly ran out of movies and just started over with Birth of a Nation and just kept going over.
No question.
Do it.
Okay, here it is. Here's its...
I got to cough. Sorry, I don't have the vid.
So you say? Are we supposed to believe you?
I just don't think I had any water in like a week.
Okay, fair enough. That's all you need.
That'll do it.
Speaking of that, I think I told you this. I was on an episode of the amazing podcast, The Best Film Ever, where we talked about The Big Lebowski. And halfway through, we're like, hey, we're all going to have White Russian. So I'm like, okay, I'm not a big drinker. And their show is in England. And, of course, I'm in California, so it's 10 a.m. And I'm cracking into a White Russian, which I have to admit, mighty tasty.
Mighty tasty. And you drank an old shitty canned one, good. So it was probably made with coffee mate and malt liquor. Right. So who knows?
15 minutes later, I was half in the bag. So if you listen to that episode, you may notice some slurring or whatever. And of course, right afterwards, I was like going with the family to watch my daughter Lucy's performance in a play. So I'm like, honey, you're going to have to drive. Womp, womp, womp.
I'm surprised you didn't get out some of those Switzer sweets like you used to smoke with when you were drinking your Zima back in the day.
I could do it today. I mean, who's to say, right? I'm down. Anyway, Roger Ebert says, within hours, the two-headed escapee is on a motorcycle and being chased by no less than 14 police cars. Every one of them is destroyed during the chase, a process that takes so long that 7 or perhaps even 5 squad cars might have been enough. 1 out of 4. 1 out of 4. Very sad. Wait, what's your rating, Aaron?
I am going to give it 3.1. Rosie Grier secretly kissing Ray Milland while he was asleep. Out of 5.
What is happening? Is this a fan fiction?
Just to enrage him. Just to it's a little fan fiction. Look for it in theaters 2025.
Sweet Lord. Okay.
But here's my caveat. Viewers, listeners, I would give it a 4 if you promise once you start seeing car chases, you just fast forward through it. Then it's a 4. Otherwise, I stick with my 3-1 if you insist on watching all this fluff filler car chases.
I totally agree. I give it 3 out of 5. You get into some shit.
Are there 2 of everything?
Oh, you got to go. Look, I mean, the script is actually well written. I mean, the dialogue I enjoyed. The performances I thought were good. I mean, it's obviously a B movie, but everybody is doing their work, right? They're making choices.
It's entertaining.
Absolutely entertaining. Yeah. It is it's really, I mean, I can handle the beginning of the chase when they're in the car because they're actually having conversations while they're doing it. The moment they get on the bike, it is interminable. It is fast. Do yourself a favor. Watch the movie, but fast forward through the entire motocross part of the movie. You're welcome. I mean,
my only other caveat is it is a little, in my mind, a little racist at the end when they all are escaping. They're just singing spirituals.
I guess that's true.
Is that a little cringy? Is that a little cringy?
That's a little. You're absolutely right. That may be in poor taste.
Am I being a little woke there, or what's the story?
Who's to say? Who's to say? I mean, you could. I mean, well-meaning people could discuss this and may have different opinions, but I could see why someone might say that.
Talk amongst yourselves. Absolutely. Let me know.
So, thank you very much. Go to our page on Twitter. We're on Facebook. Aaron, are we on Twitter? Well, I guess I just said we're on Twitter. Are we on Instagram? Are we on TikTok? What's the word?
We are on the gram. We are on the Ticker Talker. Well, at least for now, until the government shuts down the crack that is TikTok from China. We are, I don't know where else. We're on Tumblr. We're on Parlay. We're on
OnlyFans.
The direct line to Elon Musk. So, yeah, we are the podcast.
And you're going to find us on YouTube as well. Boom. For the simulcast. Woo! So if you'd rather watch our lovely faces, our 2 heads, if you will, you can watch that on YouTube. Check us out. Or you can just listen anywhere the finer podcasts are available. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. You can also email us at the podcast that wouldn't die at Gmail. Good times. Aaron.
Ooh. Now, kids, let us know. What do you think? Do you think YouTube versus Twitch
or Vimeo?
Let us know.
No, is that
dead? That even I know that's dead.
Very upsetting.
That's dead. Come on.
So let us know what you guys think. Good times had by all. Aaron, you're on social media. What's going on?
I have much media. I am on Instagram. I'm Don't Feed the Pigeon. I am also the Cult of Aaron. I have artwork for sale on Artsy and First Dibs. Aaron Doherty, check it out.
Beautiful.
So we're gonna pause. We're gonna pause while my brother's texting.
I'm not texting. First of all, how dare you? Next week we're gonna be doing.
Here's a picture of a mannequin that I took with the windmills. Very nice.
Did you bring the mannequin with you? Or was it just in the sand dune?
I put it in the passenger side of my car, hoping that I could then drive through carpool lanes. It does raise eyebrows when you're cruising around. And it currently lives in my garage, and I had to go to the garage the other day, and I walked in, and it is wearing a hat, wig, and a trench coat, and I scared the shit out of myself. I just screamed. Only the hobos heard my cry.
I don't doubt it. And only the hobos heard your cry. That part really sells the story. Next week, we're going to be doing the Korean Zombie Spectacular, Train to Busan. So you can check that out.
I'm looking forward to that.
No question, it's a good one.
I'm obsessing with going to Asia, so I'm looking forward to that. Plus, we watched High Speed Rail. What was that
Train.
One? The Bullet Train.
That's
that
Japan.
was fabulous.
But I'll tell you what, South Korea is doing a lot of interesting stuff in the horror genre. So check that good stuff out. You can watch it on Prime Video. You can watch it on Hoopla, Vudu, Tubi. It is everywhere. Do yourself a favor. Check out that good stuff and send us.
Do you know?
Please.
I'm interrupting you again. Do you know where I watch the thing with two heads?
YouTube?
I had to go to YouTube.
That's why. Okay. Yes. Go ahead.
Just because I wasn't going to buy it, and it was hard to find.
It is right. I had to buy the Blu-ray to watch it initially, and they accidentally. I hope Amazon's not listening. They accidentally sent me 2 copies. So I handed one to you in anticipation, and then you didn't even open it. You're like, I'd rather watch it on YouTube if it's all the same with you.
It's like art. You know what? I think it's going to be like that person who just auctioned off the very first iPhone that they never bothered. They were so rich, they just bought it and never bothered to open it. And then 30 years later, they sold it for $1 million. I think that's what's going to happen with this unopened thing with 2 heads Blu-ray.
Well, considering the movie's 50 years old, I don't know what you're waiting on. I mean, when do you think this windfall is going to occur? In another 50 years?
But how many people have it on Blu-ray?
You and I only, probably. Sweet Jesus. So send us any favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, and questions about Train to Busan, and we may just talk about it on the show. Good times had by all. So thank you very much, and be well.
Goodbye, children.